Left 4 Dead, an absolute classic. We all know it. One of the first zombie games to take a chance and change up what your typical zombie game can be. A co-op 4-player zombie shooter game, making your way from point A to point B, fighting wave after wave of zombies while finding weapons and supplies along the way, of course. On top of all this, you had Special Infected, and put all these things together, and blam, you had perfection. And while it's true, the game still has its following today and still lives on through mods. Not everyone plays on PC, or has access to the game nowadays. So what do you do when you want that zombie-killing carnage that Left 4 Dead is known for? Well, friends, I give you Back 4 Blood, the spiritual successor of Left 4 Dead. Hey yo, what is up everybody? Zoel the Wolf. Welcome to another episode of The Nerd Talk. You heard right, we are talking about Back 4 Blood today, and a little bit of Left 4 Dead. We're going to kind of mix them together here. Back 4 Blood for me is the spiritual successor of Left 4 Dead, and if you don't agree with me, well, maybe stick around and maybe I can change your mind. Nonetheless, let's roll the intro and hop right into the video. Start with Left 4 Dead. Side note, the footage is mostly Left 4 Dead 2, so technically we are just talking about 2, but nonetheless still Left 4 Dead through and through pretty much, so. In Left 4 Dead, as stated, you go from level to level collecting weapons along the way. Back 4 Blood works pretty much in the same way of moving from point A to point B and collecting weapons along the way. Now one thing I will say that I wish both games had more of, and that is, of course, guns. When it comes to Left 4 Dead, it is very limited in its firearm selection, and it does make sense due to the fact that the game released in 2008. Nonetheless, the guns are fun to use, and with the use of mods, you can expand your arsenal in some way, so there's that. On the other hand, with Back 4 Blood, it certainly has a bigger range of weapons, however, I can fully understand anyone who wants more guns. I know I certainly want more guns. Even though there isn't as many guns as I would like, the guns that are present are still very fun to use nonetheless. One thing that has definitely improved compared to Left 4 Dead when it comes to the weapons, and that is attachments. And the weapons work more as a progression system in Back 4 Blood. The weapons within Back 4 Blood have multiple tiers as you go from level to level, so as each level you go and each new run you do, you can level them up as many times as you want. It's pretty fun. So if you happen to get a good SMG or sniper, you can improve it more by slapping silencers, scopes, grips, and all that for your written killing needs. Along with finding attachments, they also contain different attributes that help the player even more, from weak spot damage to reload speed increases. It really creates a lot of different variants you can create with the weapons and attachments. While again, I still wish there was more guns in general, what there is fun, from M4s to bow and arrows, or even baseball bats. Add a ton of attachments, and bada bing bada boom, you got a hell of a good time. Now when it comes down to levels, in Left 4 Dead we all know how it works. Separate small campaigns that we get to play through. Each campaign had its own unique design, and you went from crazy areas, from areas like Mercy Hospital all the way to the Dark Carnival. Maybe even take us journey through some swamps, you know? Point is, Left 4 Dead really had a plethora of levels and designs, which is definitely what helped to give Left 4 Dead the replayability that it has. I know I still play to this day specifically the hotel on Left 4 Dead 2, literally the first mission of the first campaign, and I love it. Cut back on over to Back 4 Blood, and while it is true, the way the game plays out, you actually are moving through a lot of the same areas in each different act. Each area still looks pretty amazing. While I can still understand wanting more maps, I think people really don't take time to consider how each game kind of works here, and it's a little different each way. Left 4 Dead is multiple campaigns, and each new area show how the characters are still on the run. The outbreak within Left 4 Dead is fairly recent, so it makes sense, in either Left 4 Dead game as well. So it makes sense, they're always moving from town to town and from area to area. Whereas the events in Back 4 Blood, the written outbreak has already been incurred for at least 2 years at least, so the cleaners, as they call, have a home base already, so it kind of makes sense why we go through some of the same areas, but nonetheless, the areas still look really good. You can also add on top of this, the ridden hives, but that is DLC, but they do add a little more replayability as well. We might talk about them a little later. There are DLC packs that added new areas, and I have played through some of them, but I don't own them currently. The hives are their own separate thing, while the other DLC packs you can play with friends online, but yeah, I don't own them yet, but you can play if someone owns them. You can't play with them online, which is pretty cool. But what's in the base game is still looks great, and even though those levels do repeat, it's still a lot of fun. Nonetheless, there's one thing that Back 4 Blood has that even Left 4 Dead doesn't have that really changes things up, and that is the card system. Now, when it comes down to Back 4 Blood's new card system, this is what fully gives Back 4 Blood its identity. Besides the characters, of course, who are all pretty unique, and say some pretty cool things, especially Holly and Hoffman. Holly is just a badass and, she kinda cute, and Hoffman, well, he's Doc Ock from Spider-Man PS4, only his conspiracy theories are through the roof, but still entertaining to listen to nonetheless. Anyway, the way the card system works is pretty simple. Each level has a unique set of corruption cards because, the Cleaner's Life, as they're known in the games, aren't hard enough already, but nonetheless. Now, the corruption cards can range from dark events where you have a flashlight and the map is extremely dark, to having to fight off special bosses along with special infected on top of already normal and special infected. However, these corruption cards are what give the game the replayability that it has. Each one is unique. From acid exploding zombies to fighting off the dreaded hag, which I hate because it's basically a witch from Left 4 Dead, except way bigger and way more annoying in some ways, a little less in some, but still I hate it nonetheless. On top of all these corruption cards, the player themselves also get to build their own deck to fight back. Now, I can admit, it takes some time to get all the cards, but once you get the cards, you can build some formidable decks. The player can get cards that range from gaining health when hordes are called, to increasing stamina, weak spot damage, and of course, helping out your full team in different ways. And that's basically the whole point of the game, to run through the acts, buy better cards until you can create the perfect deck for yourself, and then after that, just keep playing. Go on higher difficulty, each run is different, so enjoy. Experiment, have fun with it, that's what's meant to be done in the game. Now, I can understand how some people may not enjoy the card building and decks all that much. I certainly didn't give it enough credit at first, but I think some people don't give it enough credit like they should. Not to say whenever I first started playing I wasn't having fun though. I still had fun shooting Ridden, and the characters are awesome, and I think this is one of the best looking games ever, so there's that, and it's still fun to shoot the Ridden. But when the game first dropped with only the first 4 acts, even when I got to the end, I was kind of like, so this is it? This is it? However, once the first DLC dropped with the Hidden Hives, which I might address here soon, and it really kind of helped add a little more to the game, along with deciding to sit down and learn about the cards and learn the decks and learn how everything works properly. Let's just say to this day, I'm still playing and having fun with it. I'm still building new decks to this day, just enjoying it because it can be that fun. However though, nonetheless, no matter how fun the game is, it's awesome, it's great and all that, there are at least 1 or 2 little problems I want to address here. First off, maybe it's just me, but I play on PS5, so my game crashes quite a bit, and it crashes my console, which is weird. I already have electricity issues out here where I live because the electricity and wiring is ass, but besides that, the game does crash quite a bit, which can really suck. I don't know if I'm the only one who has those issues, so if anyone else is playing on PlayStation or even on PC, if you're having those problems, just let it be known in the comments, because I really wish that was a problem that was addressed more and fixed. But it's certainly a problem I have, so if anyone else has that, just leave it in the comments or something, and I'm sorry if you do, it sucks, I know it does. Secondly, the game on Nightmare difficulty is just way too hard, man, it's way too much. Nightmare difficulty overall isn't too bad. It's honestly, you know me, I am a player who likes a challenge. I love a good challenge. I'm all for playing on higher difficulties, I always do. And side note here too, I am a solo player mainly on Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood. It's not that I haven't played online, there's probably some footage of me playing online here, but there's just not enough people playing the game, and I don't really have a crew to play the game with right now, so I've always kind of played this game solo. That being said, however, especially on Act 3, on the mission in the mansion where you have to get the boxes and get out, it is way too hard. Nightmare overall isn't too bad, but there's certain sections where it is way too difficult because the horde is non-stop and there is no breathing room, even for a solo player, and that is really really bad, really annoying, you know? Like, playing on veteran and stuff is fine, and the AI in this game is pretty decent, unlike World War Z, which we'll talk about that later. But it's a common thing now that I've noticed with games that are coming out like this and World War Z, that some of the AI, and I've talked about before how I think AI is just getting harder anyways, but the AI, at least in these games, especially on these higher difficulties, sometimes are just way too much, especially in here and World War Z, which again, that's going to be its own video, so nonetheless, though, it's whatever. And if you don't like me being a solo player, well, guess what? Too bad. Besides that, though, the game still is fun. I think Back 4 Blood is truly the spiritual successor of Left 4 Dead. Now, I say spiritual successor. That's what I'm calling it. That does not mean I am trying to replace Left 4 Dead. You know, I think some people might get it confused. It's not that I'm trying to say, you know, this is replacing Left 4 Dead, but this is taking that formula of what we know from Left 4 Dead and expanding it, creating it to be its own. And, you know, like I said at the beginning, like, we don't have a Left 4 Dead 3. This is the closest thing we're going to get, but this is not Left 4 Dead 3. This is its own unique identity. You know, I think it's a big problem we have, and I think this is maybe what happened with the Callisto Protocol. I haven't played it yet, but don't worry, I'm gonna make a video on it when I get the chance to play it. The problem is that a lot of times people with games like Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood, the Callisto Protocol, and Dead Space, is whenever a game comes out that wants to adapt from what another game pulled off that made it so unique, like Left 4 Dead or Dead Space, sometimes people want it to be like an actual continuation, but they never really appreciate whenever something comes out that's unique and its own thing while being inspired from something and then allowing it to be its own thing. People always gotta push and shove and hate on it because it's too much like something, or too much or not enough like something, you know? It's always a constant back and forth, and I've noticed that. A lot of people sometimes are like that, and that really sucks. So, please, you just give Back 4 Blood a good chance. Learn the card system. I will leave a link in the description to the YouTuber, I think his name is SwingPoynt, or something. He does a lot of Back 4 Blood stuff. The tutorials might be a little outdated, but if you want to learn the cards and learn how to build your decks properly, watch it. It will help you so much. It helped me. And yeah, and again, I just think Nightmare's a little too hard on Act 3, but the game itself is fun. Left 4 Dead is special for what it brought, and Back 4 Blood is special for what it brings. So nonetheless, whatever your poison, you know, enjoy it, have fun with it. And that's about all I have to say here, so thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If maybe you were thinking about Back 4 Blood and didn't know, maybe now you can give it a shot. Or if you just want to play some Left 4 Dead, play some Left 4 Dead. Yeah, nonetheless, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.